Throughout the years, I've noticed that one of the most famous assassins to ever grace the Assassin's Creed is Edward Kenway, the pirate turned assassin. And there's always high praise for him, always high praise for him, for Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and it is regarded as one of the best Assassin's Creed games out there. And I never played it up until 2023, this year. I had never played Assassin's Creed Black Flag before. I didn't know anything about the story, yet I critiqued it very harshly. And it was maybe for burnout. You got to understand, guys, that I played Assassin's Creed 1, then I played the Ezio Collection, and then I played Assassin's Creed 3. All of this when I was young, as they were releasing. And I played Assassin's Creed 3 back in 2013. After completing that game, I think there was a burnout for me, even at a young age. I was like, I think I'm tired of Assassin's Creed. I miss Ezio. I had a really tough time putting Ezio to bed. I loved Ezio. He was my favorite assassin. And I had difficulty letting him go and moving on from his story. So I didn't feel like I could enjoy any Assassin's Creed afterwards, and I felt like maybe I was kind of burned out on them. So I remember Assassin's Creed 4 being released. From that point on, I wouldn't play another Assassin's Creed until Odyssey, and I played Odyssey in 2020. And then I started slowly getting back into the Assassin's Creed series. But I never showed love to Assassin's Creed Black Flag. And there was a thing for me, I absolutely hated ship battles. I've never liked that in video games, and Black Flag I knew had a lot of that because you're a pirate and you're on ships. So I critiqued and I judged the game before I even played it. And I always said in conversations with friends or with my uncle or with anyone just coming up and they would refer to Black Flag, no, I said I don't like that game. I never liked that game. I hate ships. That's boring, it's overrated. And I was saying all these things, but I never played it. So how could I say these things? Why was I judging this game without actually playing it? So many years went by, and I'm so far away from the Assassin's Creed series now that I thought to myself, let me give Assassin's Creed Black Flag a shot. Let me try to play it and see if the game worthy of the high praise that it has gotten so many years later. And I wanted to experience that for my own self. So here it is, guys. I started playing in February of 2023, and I finished around mid-March of 2023. The game took me about 20 hours or so to complete, and the first thing that popped out to me was the gameplay. It took me right back to old Assassin's Creed gameplay, being stealthy, hiding in the hay, hiding in the bushes, killing your enemies. It felt so smooth. I played it on the PS5, but the gameplay itself was very smooth. It started very good right off the bat. The gameplay was so enjoyable, and I think that's one of the main things that a game needs to have. If a game's gameplay is awesome, everything else is going to flow perfectly. And I use Mass Effect 1 as a recent example. For me, that gameplay wasn't very good, and I played it very recent. But this gameplay for Assassin's Creed, again, smooth. Parkour felt great. Simple controls to understand, and killing your enemy is always so satisfying with the hidden blades. It is so good. I think the gameplay as a whole is one of the things that I absolutely adored about the game, and it still holds up so good even in 2023, almost 10 years later, or almost 10 years since its release. Such a fun story as well. But before we jump into the story, I want to talk a little bit about the boats. That was always the main turnoff for me, and I was scared to engage in those battles because I didn't know how they were going to go, if they were going to be difficult or not. But to my surprise, guys, the ship battles were really fun, especially in the beginning of the game. When I started playing the game for the first time and my first ship battle came, I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. This is smooth. It feels good. The health bar of the opponent is going down pretty quickly. And outside of the fight itself, the sea in the ocean was raging. There was a storm. There were tornadoes in the water. There were big waves that hit you. It was very interactive. It felt like the ocean, everything was very alive. And that took me by surprise. I wasn't expecting the rain, the storms, the tornadoes, the big waves to hit you and to hurt you. I wasn't expecting to be riding from one coast to another and I saw a whale jumping out. I wasn't expecting that we could do these things. I was blown away. I was blown away completely by the gameplay of Edward Kenway on foot and the gameplay of Edward Kenway's ship, the Jackdaw. As you continue to progress, the enemies get so hard and it becomes a little difficult, definitely, and even a little rage-inducing. But overall, the thing that I thought was going to hold me back from liking this game didn't hold me back from liking this game. Not at all. Then if I want to talk a little bit about the characters, from the very beginning, Edward Kenway was very charismatic, very strong character, and just his character as a whole was really good. And you see a growth in his character from the very first mission all the way to the end. He really grew as a character tremendously. He went through a trajectory that I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting for him to change his views, the way that he was, and just become a better man overall. I wasn't expecting that. He was always a loyal man, and he was always an ambitious man, and I think that stayed with him throughout his entirety. But I think his motivations changed. Why he did the things that he did changed, and who he helped change. And there's a bunch of pirates that you end up meeting, and obviously the most famous pirate that you end up meeting is Blackbeard, which I didn't know that he was even in the game. As I continued to play the game, I realized that was Blackbeard, and then they started calling him Blackbeard, and they confirmed it for me. Another thing that I'd like to talk about is the outside missions, like outside of the Animus. There's like a little mission going on, a little side story, which I didn't really pay too much attention to in the beginning, because since I'm not playing these games in order or anything like that anymore, I could care less about what's going on in the outside world. But to be honest, it kind of, when I looked at it as standalone, it was pretty engaging, and I was able to take a lot from those missions outside of the Animus as well. I found a file on Desmond and what happened to him after he passed away. And the stories just got really interesting. They were nice, short, and straight to the point, and it let you explore a little bit. And I don't think it ever went anywhere else, but it was very entertaining, and I didn't mind stepping out of the Animus to do those missions as well. I think all of the missions in the game felt really good. They were paced well. There was a lot of tailing. You had to tail a lot of different characters throughout the story and kill them. So it was really fun trying new ways to kill them. Sometimes you could be tailing them, and sometimes they'll have escorts behind them, like bodyguards. You can take out the bodyguards quick, and then you can hide in a bush, and the person continues walking by himself. And then when you got to kill him, you can kill him from above. You can kill him from a haystack. You can kill him from a bush. You can just walk by him, stab him, and keep it pushing. Just so many different cool assassin ways to kill. It was so stealthy as well, and that's what I really enjoyed. I felt like an assassin. Black Flag took me right back, and I felt like a true assassin. It was beautiful. One thing that I also want to mention is there was a lot of set pieces throughout the story where something explodes and there's a big chase, and you have to chase someone or you have to escape something. And as you're running, there's explosions, there's things breaking. It gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. It was so well done and so intense, man. It keeps you like, oh my God, it keeps you right on the edge of your seat. Very intense. I love those set pieces. Another thing that I also enjoyed, like I mentioned earlier, the combat options. There's so many ways to kill different people. You can use guns, you can use darts, you can use a rope, you can use your blades, you can use your swords. There's like a array of options when it comes to killing or taking down an opponent. Some of the negative things I would say is at the boats. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, the boats was one of those things that I was scared about when starting this game, and I ended up realizing that it was really fun. But it came to a point where I was just fighting a lot of boats, and towards the end of the mission, like the final 2 or 3 missions of the game, of the story, you gotta fight like this big ass man of war that's like level 40, and it's a mess. And it took me so many tries to kill him, because mind you, I didn't upgrade my ship. My ship was level 15 when I was doing one of the final missions, and I had to kill this big old boat man of war that was humongous, and it took me like 10 tries in an hour, and I freaking did it somehow. But I realized that the best way sometimes to go when you're not a super high level is to be on the attack and try to overwhelm your enemy as soon as possible. I figured there was kind of a lot of boat fights, and I wish maybe there would have been just a little less, but overall it didn't really hurt the experience, and that's one of the only negatives that I can really find on Assassin's Creed Black Flag right now. So the game in general is really good, and I think it's really fun and a great experience. And I think that I judged Assassin's Creed Black Flag way too early, and I judged it without actually knowing it. And I think I learned a lesson from that. There's no game out there that I can judge or say that I don't like for any reason unless I actually test it out and try it myself. My main concerns with this one, like I said, I just thought it was lame, and I thought it was about pirates, and I thought it was going to be a lot of water fights, you know. Playing it blew me completely out of the water, and right now as I'm sitting here, I would probably put it in my top 3 favorite Assassin's Creed games of all time, from the ones that I've played. And I think that's really high praise considering Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood, Revelations. I think that's really high praise. And to be honest, I'm gonna go through some more Assassin's Creed games now, but Edward Kenway's story and his storyline was tremendous, and I liked it. It was emotional. And one quick thing here is the story of Edward Kenway from the very first mission to the final mission. There's like a span of 6 to 10 years. And when I realized that they said that, because I didn't feel that. I thought that the story took place in a couple months, to be honest, maybe a year. But we did go through a lot, and his character did change a lot. And so there's like this island that you visit very early on, and then later towards the end of the game you visit it again, and it says, well, it's been 6 years, 7 years since you've been here. So I thought that was pretty crazy. I don't want to keep on ranting, but this is basically what I've got from the game. The final message and the final thing that I'll leave you with is Assassin's Creed Black Flag is absolutely worth it in 2023. And if you've never played it, you absolutely should. If you've ever been skeptical because you think the boat fights are going to be hard or something, forget about that, man. Play the game, and trust me, you're going to like it if you like Assassin's Creed in general. It is one of the best Assassin's Creed games that I've ever played. It was not overhyped. It wasn't overpraised. And I almost hate myself that it took me this long to come and play it and to give it a shot. Edward Kenway, a hell of an assassin. Assassin's Creed Black Flag, a hell of a game.
From a fever dream, and men will drop to their knees, pleading for their lord before all else.
Oh, God.
Looks fine.
Of course it does.